Hey guys, Preston here. Welcome back to another video. Today we are continuing our NFL draft grade series. Sorry this took so long, but we are now on the NFC North. And the next video after this, we will go to the South conferences, so it'll be the AFC South. Either way, we're going alphabetically just like last time. This is the first team up in the NFC North. By the way, you'll see me look up to the side. That's because I have my laptop up with the draft tracker, just so I can see every pick. I use CBS Sports, so I can kind of give you their grade and my grade at the same time, and it's just a good way to have it all laid out nice and neat. So the Bears were one of the 4 or 5 teams that did not have a first-round pick this year, so that will obviously, that hurts them in the rankings compared to the other teams in their division, but if we're being honest, some of them, the Packers, had a bad draft. Either way, we'll get to them later. So the first pick the Bears had was 43rd overall in the second round, and they went Cole Kmet, tight end out of Notre Dame. CBS Sports gave this a C-, just mentioning the fact that the Bears had 10 tight ends already. But to me, they gave it a C-. I like it, though. I like it better than C-. I'd say it's at least a B. Sure, they had other tight ends, but they don't have, a solid starter. Clearly, they wouldn't have to draft a guy like this. They overpaid for Jimmy Graham in free agency, and he's old, and so he's not your future anyways. He might be the guy you can have start now while Kmet develops, and I just think Kmet was a good choice. Decent value. Is one of the better tight ends in this draft class. A pretty weak tight end class, clearly, just based off the fact that, a lot of them went undrafted that we didn't think would. Albert Equinam, Hunter Bryant, a couple other guys. It wasn't the strongest tight end class, but Cole Kmet was one of the better ones. And Notre Dame is tight end U. I'm a Notre Dame fan, so there's a bias here, but I'm not a Bears fan at all, so you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I'd give it a B just because he's already better than anyone. To me, he's already better than anyone they have outside of maybe Jimmy Graham. But even now, this Jimmy Graham is not the one. This isn't the prime Jimmy Graham. This is an older, overpaid Jimmy Graham, and so obviously he's not the future. Cole Kmet could be your future starting tight end for a long time, and hopefully he has a long and good career in the NFL. I give it a B. Not bad, especially for not having a first-round pick. And then their next pick, 7 picks later, and 50th overall in the second round, they went Jalen Johnson, corner out of Utah. CBS Sports actually really liked this pick. They gave it an A. They said he's very solid across the board, good ball skills, and Chicago actually did need cornerback help. It's kind of an underrated thing. Their defense has always been pretty good, so they don't think about it too much. But I think they lost Prince Amukamara. I really don't know many of the other people in that cornerback room right now. So adding a young kid with potential in, definitely good value for where they were picking to. Is probably the best. To me, it was definitely the best corner left at whatever time that was, if I can recall correctly. But yeah, he has a lot of potential. Very solid kid. Could easily be, he'll probably be the number 2 or 3 corner almost right out the gate. Hopefully for his sake, he can hit that number 2 spot and eventually work his way up to number 1. We'll have to see. Good pick in a position they did need, so you can't really say that, sure, they had 10 tight ends, but they needed corner. And to me, that's still an upgrade to tight end, so it works out. And then in the 5th, they didn't pick again till the 5th round. They traded up in the 5th round, pick 155. Just trying to see what they gave up. Sorry, guys. Give me a sec. I'm going to try to see. Does it show? No, it doesn't show. But they did trade. I think they gave up a 4th next year to get this 5th round pick. So that was the weirder part to me. And it's the fact they traded away a 4th round pick next year for a 5th this year just to take an edge rusher out of Tulsa. Travis. It looks like I'd want to say Travis, but it's Trevis. Sorry if it's wrong. I'm gonna say Travis Gibson out of Tulsa. CBS Sports gave it a C+. They said he's a good developmental prospect behind Mack and Quinn, but it's he's definitely not a top need edge rusher at all. And I don't know if it's really worth trading away future draft capital for. A 4th next year is more valuable than, to me, it'd be more valuable than this 5th round pick, just in my humble opinion, I guess. I wish him the best of luck, but it doesn't seem like a need that was big enough for you to trade away picks to trade up for, It's a 5th round pick, though, so who knows what he'll become. Looks like maybe he'll be a good edge rotationer guy. Can't keep Khalil Mack on the field every play, so we'll see what he does. C+, I'd probably agree with that. I don't like the trading up for him. That's probably the biggest concern, because if it was just a normal 5th round pick, it kind of fits what a 5th round pick should be. And then in the 5th round, pick 163, they got Kindle Vindor, corner out of Georgia Southern. CBS Sports gave this a C. I've heard about this kid for a while. Good cornerback depth again. I'd probably give it a B. I'd give it a better grade than they did. I like the kid. I mean, he's a little tall. He's a little short kid, 5'10", 191. So I don't know what he plays. I think they said he's versatile. Jack of all trades is how they kind of described it. I feel like a slot role would probably be best. But they just, like I said, that cornerback room was kind of lacking, so you might as well throw as many bodies as you can and see what sticks. Not a bad pick, especially in the 5th round. Good value there, if you ask me. And then in another 5th round pick, there's a trade involved with this too. I don't know how old this trade is. Either way, they went Darryl Mooney, wide receiver out of Tulane. Sorry, they said Mooney. They like this pick a lot. They doubled up on Tulane players, which is I guess surprising. Someone's got to take him, right? They said Mooney is a Tyler Lockett type of small receiver with burner speed. So he's a fast kid, 5'10", 176. He's real fast. Good depth is what they're saying. For the 5th round, it's kind of all you can ask for. It is a loaded wide receiver class, so I'm going to trust that it was a good pick. I can't give an A on a kid I'd never heard of, though. Like, I know I'm not an actual dress expert, so it's not crazy that I haven't heard of Mooney, but I heard about a decent amount of receivers in this draft class going down to 4th, 5th round guys, James Proche, who went to SMU, ended up at Baltimore, stuff, people like that, and this guy must have went under my radar. He can obviously prove me wrong, and Bears fans, feel free to come back and crap on me in I don't know, next draft's video or something. But they give it an A. Yeah, I'll go B-, I guess. I don't know a lot about the kid, but it's not like they're loaded at receiver, so getting depth in the 5th round isn't a bad move. Once you get to these kind of late picks, as long as you get, a decent kid or a position that makes sense, it's a good pick. But then in the 7th round, 2 7th round picks back-to-back, they picked 2 offensive linemen that I never even heard of. From what I've seen, I think most people thought these were reaches even for the 7th round, but I guess in the 7th round, it's just a lot of these kids could have easily been UDFAs. It's just they get the first priority on them, basically. And so they went Arlington Hambright, offensive lineman out of Colorado, and Javius Simmons, offensive lineman out of Tennessee State. I do think it's weird. This is sort of like what I said with the Bengals last video. I'm a little bothered by the fact that they waited until the 7th round to address their offensive line at all, which is one of their bigger issues, especially with, I think it's Kyle Long retiring. They needed help, and to wait till the 7th round, pick 226 and 227 to address the offensive line, and then to do it with guys who are just they weren't even on a lot of people's boards. I mean, literally CBS's first sentence on the last pick was, Bears going off the draft radar up front with these picks. But I mean, it's not like any other 7th round picks can do way better, but it's waiting until the 7th round to address the offensive line. Honestly, with 7th round picks, you're lucky if they're practice squad guys, and I think it should have been addressed earlier. Nonetheless, addressing it was still good. They gave both of these picks a D+. They said, basically they had to get stronger, play with better pass protection balance. The second one said he has good versatility. They give him D+. I'll probably go C's just because of the position. Like I said, it's not like I scouted heavy all the 7th round picks, but from everything I've heard, they were kind of reaches, and I'm still annoyed that they waited to the very end to address the offensive line position. If you're being honest, I'm not a huge fan of the Bears draft, but the later half of their draft, their first 2 picks I really like, so that helps them a lot. And to me, overall, this is probably just a C. Not horrible, so don't get too mad, Bears fans. It's not like you had a first-round pick, so you don't too much to worry about here. But it's not the best draft, but you didn't completely blow it. You got the most important picks right. Your top 2 picks you did very well on, in my opinion. And so, just real quick, because I've done this for every other team, your best graded pick was Jalen Johnson, the corner out of Utah, and your worst picks is you had 2 D+ for those 2 final defensive linemen. Oh, sorry, Darryl Mooney also had an A, the wide receiver. So you had 2 A's, 2 D+, a C, a C+, and a C-. So it's kind of on the lower end, but you didn't have a lot of capital, and I think your 2 top picks propel you, and just the stupidity of some other teams in your division kind of helps you. But to me, that's probably a C. And now we'll go to the next team in the NFC North. All right, the next team up in NFC North, is the Detroit Lions. They picked pretty high up in this draft, so they got a lot of good talent in this 2020 draft class. I'm a big fan of the Lions draft as far as I can remember. Looks good to me. There's some questionable. There's two questionable things I will talk about, but it's not bad. So basically, the first pick, 3rd overall, they went Jeff Okudah, cornerback out of Ohio State. That's the pick most people expected. It made a lot of sense. Very solid prospect. CBS Sports said they should have took Derek Brown, but in me, Okudah, I mean, you just lost Darius Slay, and Okudah has a lot of potential. He's younger, and it'll be cheaper for a little bit. I think that's the move for them to do. It makes a lot of sense. If he lives up to what his potential should be, it's a great pickup for Detroit. I'm going to give it an A. They gave it a B. That's an A to me. I think that's what most people had them picking, and they did the right thing. I know there was talk of them trading down. I don't know if it's because the way the draft was set up this year made it harder for them, or if literally no one wanted to trade up. Either way, staying and picking Okudah, pretty good consolation prize if you ask me. And then their next picks, 35th overall, they picked Deandre Swift, running back out of Georgia. Really weird pick to me. He's a good player. Probably the best receiving back in the class. He was a lot of people's top running back in all the pre-draft, mock drafts and position board rankings. But going to the Lions didn't make a lot of sense to me. You just spent a second-round pick semi-recently on Kerryon Johnson, who's the best running back the Lions have had for a while, and it seemed like they finally had a starter, and they end up not only getting Swift in the second round, they actually double-dip on running back in this draft class, which made no sense to me. I guess you have a very versatile backfield. It's a weird thing. CBS Sports gave it a C+. I hate that they went running back, but I do love the player. Deandre Swift is a very capable player and was debatably the best running back in this draft class. Only time will tell. But they gave it a C+. I guess I'm going to go B- just the talent alone. I hate doing that, but he's very talented, but they shouldn't have gone running back in the first place. They had other positions that they could have addressed. So maybe C+ is more fair. I don't know. Let me know what you think of the Deandre Swift pick, honestly. And then their next pick, 3rd round, 67th overall, they went Julian Okwara, edge rusher out of Notre Dame. They gave this pick an A-. I really like this pick. I mentioned already I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I got to see this kid play a lot. He's very hardworking, and he's very good. His brother is already on the Lions, so now there's another brother duo in the NFL to go along with 2 Edmonds brothers in Pittsburgh and 2 Watt brothers in Pittsburgh. There's probably some other brothers somewhere, who knows. But Okwara is very talented. I think he's probably better than his older brother, which doesn't happen a lot, but he probably is. He has a lot of potential. He'll be, at the very least, he'll be a good rotational guy in the 3rd round. That's a pretty good pick. Detroit said it's a good ad, and they can pair him with Trey Flowers. I agree completely. That's an A for me. CBS Sports gave it an A-, so I guess they didn't fully love it. I do love that pick. That's a great pick, if you ask me. In the 3rd round, for the value, that's a good pick. And then their next 3rd round pick, they went Jonah Jackson, offensive lineman out of Utah. Sorry, what? I don't know, Utah. I still got Jalen Johnson in my head. Offensive lineman out of Ohio State. They said he's not a high-level athlete, but has superb balance and recovery skills with great hand work. Doesn't look the part, but he'll get the job done, and Detroit had a clear need up front. So maybe if their interior was that bad, you could make that Deandre Swift pick look even worse with the fact that they could have addressed it earlier in round 2. They waited till 3rd round, but they still found good value in Jonah Jackson, 6'4", 306. Ohio State does pretty well developing players. They gave this pick an A, so clearly they thought it wasn't bad. I think it's a good value pick. Offensive line was definitely a need for the Lions, and so addressing it is never a bad option. I'll probably go B, just because I don't know if it's A worthy, if you ask me, but it's a decent pick, especially at 75th overall in the draft. And then their next pick, 4th round, pick 121 overall. They doubled up at offensive line, going Logan Steinberg out of Kentucky. They said he's a mauler in the run game with not a lot of experience in pass protection. So they said he's very one-dimensional, and he'll definitely be a developmental piece. But it's another pick on the O-line, so getting some depth in there, just throwing capital at your problem isn't always the worst way to solve something. It's like, oh, my offensive line needs work. Get as many people as you can in there, because some of them are bound to be good or at least decent. And so I don't hate the pick. CBS Sports gave it a D+. I'll probably give it a C. this kid was kind of off my radar, but based off what they're saying, he has some work to do, and in the 4th round, there's probably some other guys they could have got. But still not horrible. At least they went O-line, which is something they could use. So, next up is pick 166 overall in the 5th round. They went Quintez Cephas, wide receiver out of Wisconsin. I think he's a very good, he's a big-bodied receiver at 6'1", 202, and can make those contested catches. Let's see what CBS Sports said. They gave it a B+. Plays faster than his time speed. They said he's a big athlete. He can even play and be a big slot in the NFL. The quality depth, though. And like I said, I didn't say it yet, but I will say it. The Lions have a very good wide receiver core in general, but this is just a good depth pick, especially when you're all the way at pick 166 in the 5th round. You can afford to take a flyer on in a loaded draft class. Get some depth at receiver. Might as well see what he can be, see if he can end up evolving even to a higher level, but at the very least, it'll be a very good number 4 or 5 receiver. Depth is very important at receiver. Trust me, as a Steelers fan. I remember the Steelers game when I think James Washington ended up being our number 1 receiver, and Tevin Jones was on the field most of the game. You don't want that happening. You want quality wide receiver depth in the case of injuries, and so Cephas fits that mold perfectly. I'd agree with their B+. Then their next 5th round pick, 172 overall, they went Jason Huntley, running back out of New Mexico State. Hate this pick. I don't hate the player. I want to be clear, if any Jason Huntley fans, or if he's here somehow, I'm sure you're great. I'm not going to lie. It's not like I watched a lot of New Mexico State tape, because no one did. I'm just taking more shots. They said he's a very small-framed running back, so he's like a Darren Sproles kind of build, but it's a 5th, 172. You already addressed running back in this draft, which you didn't even need to. Why are you double-dipping at running back? It made no sense, and the CBS Sports agreed. They said second running back pick for Detroit and already jam-packed running back room. Weird. They gave it a D+. I'd give it a D+ too. I'm sure he's a good kid, talented, kind of small scat back role, but I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. Because sorry, gotta scroll. Swift is already a receiving back, so if this kid's also a receiving back, I don't know. Just in general, they didn't need to add a running back at all this draft, but to add 2 is crazy, and I can't really justify the value here in the 5th round. There's probably better people available. At least Deandre Swift will be very talented, like a proven talented kid. This is a flyer on a 5th round pick. Usually you want to take a position you at least need, or someone you can develop for a position you need, not another running back. I agree with their D+ there. It's probably their worst pick in the draft. Then in the 6th round, they landed John Panizzi, defensive lineman out of Utah. They said he will boost the Lions' run defense immediately and knows how to get to the edge. Okay, so CBS Sports likes this kid a lot. It sounds like they're saying he can contribute to the team right away, and if you can get that in the 6th round, that has to be a good pick. Utah had a very stout run defense this year in college football, and this kid was obviously a key part in that. They give it an A-. I'd have to agree. If they're that high on a kid in the 6th round, that's just great value to have. They needed defensive line help with, I think, Snacks Harrison is gone off the Lions now, I do believe. And getting a kid like that, not bad, especially for the 6th round. Defensive line is always sort of devalued, especially that nose tackle or defensive tackle kind of role. So getting a good kid in the 6th, very good asset management, if you ask me. And then in the 7th round, their final pick at 235, they double-dipped again, going defensive lineman with Jason Cornell out of Ohio State. They say he has a unique frame, which allows him to line up anywhere. So he's a very versatile player, and he just never truly dominated. But once again, this is a late 7th round pick, and 7th round picks are always going to be developmental guys. This is maybe more of a practice squad kind of person, but it's a body in a position of need, and that's what I value the most in the 7th round. They give it a C+. I'd probably go B-, just because, like I said, you get a position of need in the 7th round. I don't care who it is. For the most part, it's generally decent. As long as they're on someone's radar. Like, they didn't say, like, the Bears linemen, they went off the radar for this. They did not mention that with this Cornell kid. He went to a very elite school. Obviously, Ohio State produced a lot of draft picks consistently, especially recently. And I'm sure he has some developmental pieces, and I hope it works out for him. Either way, that was the Lions draft. Not great. Like, it wasn't the best draft by far, and it wasn't the worst. Honestly, they will be 1 or 2 just based off the fact that the Bears didn't have a lot of draft capital and also had weird choices. The Packers, no. I'm sorry. You'll see. And the Vikings, I'll have to see. They're definitely fighting for the Vikings for first place right now. I'll have to give you my top 4 at the very end. I gave the Bears a C. This is probably a B. Subject to change based off how I think about the Vikings pick. Maybe one will be B plus and one will be B minus. We'll have to find out. I don't think there's any true home runs in this class. This could have been an A, but the double dipping at running back, or getting running back at all, really, not just the fact you got running back at all, but the double dip, that knocks it down a peg for me. Lions fans, what do you think about your draft class? Are you happy you got more running backs? Do you think your running back room, sure you had people, but they weren't as good as the guys you got now? I'm kind of curious to find out what you thought of your draft as a whole. Go ahead and comment, let me know. Now we are going on to the next team alphabetically, which is right below, so that was quick. The Green Bay Packers. Not the best draft, to say the least. They drafted a lot of people I actually don't know too well, and in weird spots. So, actually, just a precursor to show you this draft, they had 0 A grades at all. Their best grade this draft is a flat B. So, we'll go from there. Their first pick, 26 overall, they traded up to take quarterback Jordan Love out of Utah State. I think we're all familiar with this move. I don't like it at all. I don't. If Aaron Rodgers demanded to be out, or like said, hey, I'm retiring in a year or 2 years, but he didn't. I'm pretty sure he's on a 4-year contract. According to this, Aaron Rodgers told someone from the Pete Prisco of CBS Sports that he wanted to play until he's 40, like a Brady era thing. And they needed a receiver, they needed defensive, they needed a lot of other needs they could have done at pick 126. This was a team that went like 13-3 last year. And of all the things you can do to improve your team, you take a quarterback. And very weird move. I get you're the Packers and you did it one time, but you don't need to do it to literally every quarterback you have. And the fact that he's the same age as Brett Favre, and they also traded up in the first round, similar picks. It's like deja vu or something for the Packers front office, and they felt the need to do the same thing. So I guess Jordan Love, once you're on a contract with 4 years left, but you're in your mid-30s or late 30s, be ready for a quarterback draft in the first round to replace you. Bad pick. Jordan Love is a good player, but it's a weird move. This is basically, it's almost just guaranteeing Aaron Rodgers won't finish his career with the Green Bay Packers. It's Brett Favre again. He will end up somewhere. That part's fun, so I guess thanks the Packers for shaking up the league a little bit again, but I do not like this pick. They give it a D. I go D minus. It'd be an F if it was a bad quarterback, but it's still a good player, but it made no sense. It made no sense at all. They're trying to piss Aaron Rodgers off. It's like their goal. It doesn't get much better from here because in the second round, 62 overall, they go A.J. Dillon, running back out of Boston College. Not going to lie, this kid was great in college, but every board I saw, every mock draft I saw, this kid was a 5th-round pick at best. And the fact he went in the second round to a team with 2 solid running backs in Aaron Jones and I'm forgetting the name of the other one, but there's 2 good running backs on that Packers team, okay? I know what I'm talking about. The fact they went A.J. Dillon when there was plenty of good receivers still on the board, I'm going to spoil it now. They didn't draft a single receiver in part of an effort to further piss off Aaron Rodgers. Not one. Draft 1 receiver. This is one of the most loaded draft classes for receivers in years, and they take none of them. That's still crazy if you ask me. So A.J. Dillon pick, that's a D for me. They gave it a C plus. I guess it's more of an insurance pick in case Aaron Jones does leave. But using your second round pick on an insurance policy at running back, bit of a stretch for me. They definitely could have got Dillon later. They maybe could have got him in the 5th round. Definitely at least a 3rd. Definitely a reach here. And then they went tight end Josiah Deguara out of Cincinnati with their 3rd pick, 94 overall. They said he's a hard-working H-back type who has flashes of athleticism as a receiver, some decent blocking, but nothing spectacular, so it seems like a pretty average tight end. I don't think he was the highest-ranked tight end available when he was drafted, but the tight ends were kind of all over this place this year, like I said. Some people, like tight ends they thought would have been drafted earlier, like Jared Pickney and Hunter Bryant, went undrafted, while guys like Josiah Deguara and the other LSU tight end, Stephen Sullivan, I think, got drafted. So who knows? I guess it makes sense. Tight end isn't your biggest need, but it's not a horrible pick. It's not the A.J. Dillon or Jordan Love pick. I'd give it a B minus. They give it a C minus, but I'm feeling a little nicer about it. You could use another tight end, I believe. I think they like the kid they have now. I think it's a Texas A&M. was a rookie last year or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, Packers fans. There's some young kid there, but I guess double up, see how Josiah DeGuara does. Could have been worse. So, take it as you want, Packers fans. And then in the 5th round, no 4th round pick, the 5th round pick, 175, they went Kamal Martin, linebacker out of Minnesota. CBS Sports did not like this pick, giving it a D+. Let's see if I can see why. They said he lacks athletically and is a liability in coverage, good hitter if kept between the tackles. So they lost, oh, come on. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Blake Martinez, that's the name. They lost Blake Martinez to the Giants in free agency, and he was a tackle machine, so I guess this kid is similar in the fact he's a liability in coverage, but seems like CBS Sports isn't too high on him. They give him a D+. At least it's a position they kind of need. They lost some linebackers in the middle linebackers. I think he's a middle linebacker. They said good hitter if kept between the tackles, so that'd be kind of more of an inside guy, which is more of what they needed. They definitely needed outside with Darius Smith and Preston Smith, I believe. Very good. Hey, Preston's a great name, by the way. So I'll give them that. But they give it a D+. I'll give it a C. I feel a little nicer about it. 6th round pick, 192 overall. It's probably their best pick. They went offensive lineman John Runyon out of Michigan. Very good combine and a lot of experience. He could be a guard at the next level. Good depth for the Green Bay offensive line, which isn't particularly strong. I think they lost the guard. I think they lost Brian Bulaga, something with the Bulaga, the weird name. I don't know. He's with the Chargers now, and so getting offensive line help is useful. The 6th round kind of guarantees they're not going to be starters more than likely, but it is good depth, and you can never really go wrong with offensive line depth. They get depth. Not depth, I'm sorry. They give it a B-. I'd go B. I agree with that. It's a good pick. Then in the 6th round again, pick 208. They actually picked back-to-back in the 6th round, 208 and 209, and they doubled up at offensive linemen. So they picked 3 offensive linemen in a row, all in the 6th round. So I guess it's an interesting strategy. Taking Jake Hansen, offensive lineman out of Oregon. They said he's very experienced, but doesn't have the athleticism to be a quality starter. So they don't think he'll be a starter at the next level, but solid depth for the 6th round isn't too bad, and who knows what he developed to. They give it a C+. I'll agree with them on that one. Isn't horrible, isn't great either, especially when you already took an offensive lineman in the 6th round. And then another one, here we go, this 209, back-to-back they go offensive lineman. Simon Stepanek, offensive lineman out of Indiana, repping my home state, the Hoosier State. He gets overly antsy and over his feet. They said so he's powerful and his size is an appealing pick. He weighs 313 pounds at 6'4". So they're saying he'll be more of a boomer bust prospect, but in the 6th round, late, not horrible yet again. 3 offensive linemen in a row in the 6th round is peculiar, to say the least. You think maybe you'd want to address it a little earlier if you're drafting 3 of them instead of taking 3 flyers just to see what sticks. But there's good things come out of numbers, and so the more you have, the better. You'll see at least one of these kids can make the roster, hopefully. And I like the Indiana prospect. I'm going to give him I'll go B-. Not bad. He's a big player with athletic ability, so there's potential there, and that's kind of what you want to look for in these 6th and 7th round picks. And a position they kind of need, so not bad. And then in the 7th round, pick 236, they went Vernon Scott, safety out of TCU. They said he's a size, speed specimen worthy of a late round flyer and had good production. So that's all you need to look for. They gave it a B-. I'm going to go B. That's what you look for in the 7th round. They picked good in the 7th round. Flyers on super athletic kids who could make your practice squad, or if it all gets put together properly, can make your final 53-man roster. Safety wasn't their biggest need, but kid has potential. I like the pick. And then their final pick 242 in the 7th round. They went Jonathan Garvin, edge rusher out of Miami. So explosive athlete with NFL caliber size. He needs to work on his just pass rushing skills in general, but it's definitely worth a 7th round pick. Not their biggest need. They give it a B. I'm okay with that. It's definitely not their biggest need. I mentioned they're definitely not their biggest need. I mentioned their edge rushers earlier and how they're pretty solid, but never hurts to get depth and some young kids in there just to see what they can do. But overall, I trashed this draft ahead of it. I mentioned some of it. Their best picks were the later ones, and that hurts. I think you kind of got to grade your higher picks at a higher level of importance, right? Because if you picked all your 6th and 7th round picks perfectly, but your first 3 picks sucked or were questionable, to me that's a bad draft, because you know 1 through 3 is going to be way more impactful than the 6th and 7th round guys in general. Don't be comedy. But Tom Brady was a 6. Like, come on. All right. Hindsight is 20/20 for all this, but in general, it's pretty safe to say your day 1 and 2 picks will be more impactful than your day 3 picks. And so based off that, this is the worst draft in the NFC North this year. I'm going to give it a D. So Packers are last place with a D. Bears are third in the NFC North with a C. And it's between the Lions and Vikings for first place. I really like that Lions draft minus the doubling up at running back. We will see how the Vikings did. I'm sorry, guys. I will have to go talk faster on this due to my camera storage issues. I got about 9 minutes to work with. And so, but I'm pretty sure the Vikings have a lot of picks. So some of these, the later picks, I will talk even faster than I normally do. But first off, pick 122. They got Justin Jefferson, wide receiver out at LSU. Great pick. Diggs is gone. Get a solid receiver prospect in this loaded wide receiver draft. Worked very hard. Part of that amazing LSU team this year. Has a lot of potential. He's better off probably in the slot, but he has the potential to play outside if you want him to. And he's just good. Has potential. They gave it an A. I'd agree with that. Especially for the 22nd pick overall. Get a kid, as long as he doesn't have the attitude issues Diggs has. I don't care if Diggs haters. Man couldn't handle playing with Kirk Cousins, I guess. It'll be interesting to see how he plays with Josh Allen, who's even less accurate. We'll find out, I guess, right? But Jefferson was a good pick nonetheless. I liked it. That's an A. I agree with that. And the first round as well, pick 31 overall. I think they traded back to 20. I don't know how they did it. They did a lot of trading on draft day, all right, more than any other team. But pick 31 overall. It's probably one of them they got from the Bills, obviously. And so they went Jeff Gladney, cornerback out of TCU. It's a need pick, no question about it. They said apparently there's some character concerns. So that's not great. You just moved someone due to some character stuff demanding to be released and whatnot. But the talent's there. I give it an A, a B+. They gave it a B, I'll give it a B+. Not quite an A because of the character issues. But corner was a huge need with I think 2 or 3 corners left the Vikings this year in free agency. One they definitely probably didn't want back at all in Xavier Rhodes. He fell off the map, bro. The roads were wide open this year instead of closed like they used to be. And the other 2, I'm sorry they slipped my mind. I'm sure Vikings fans know. They can comment below who they are. But Gladney is a solid addition to that corner room. It can help that Vikings cornerback room. It's young, and so I need to get young. They'll be young together and develop together, and hopefully that leads to success for the Vikings cornerback room. And in the second round, pick 58 overall, they went Ezra Cleveland, offensive lineman out of Boise State. Great pick again, a position in need. They really needed it, and apparently it's a perfect fit in the Vikings zone blocking scheme because of his short area athleticism, his very good pass blocking. He needs they said he needs to get a little stronger, but in that pick in the second round, he was probably one of the best offensive linemen left on the board. He was definitely graded as a day 2 prospect, and he fit perfectly. And it was a position of need. That's an A. That's another A pick. Yeah, all right, I'm changing it. I'm already confirming now the Vikings are going to win this draft. So I give the Lions a B. Just a B. I thought B- because of double running backs, but it's a B. Either way, now we're going to pick the third round pick, 89 overall, Cameron Dantzler, cornerback out of Mississippi State. Another good pick, doubling up on corner. I told you they lost 2 or 3 corners, so it makes sense to address it multiple times, unlike the Lions going running back twice, or the Packers triple dipping in the 6th round for offense lights. You know what I mean. Either way, Cameron Dantzler was a solid prospect, especially for that value in the 89 overall. He's very tall at 6'2", so he has the size, which is something you can always look for, especially in these later round corners. Flashes in zone and press. Didn't have the best combine, but he apparently has very good ball skills. And like I said, it was a smart move to double up at corner. They go to B+. Sure, I'll go B+, maybe even A-. I really like the pick. Kid has potential, and they needed corner. So addressing debatably your biggest need with 2 picks in days 1 and 2, it's what you should do. If you got the capital and the players are there that are value, you should do it. And so in the 4th round, they had a lot of 4th-round picks. They had 3 4th-round picks. Pick 117 overall, and went DJ Wonnum, edge rusher out of South Carolina. They said he's a tall power edge rusher with some stiffness. But they needed edge rusher depth, so it's another value pick. It's a position they needed. Probably not the biggest name. I don't know if they could have got him a little later. CBS Sports gave it a C-. I'll go B- because it's still, they needed the depth. The 4th round, you can start to get depth guys, because really, if we're being honest, after the 3rd round, it's more and more you're expecting these guys to be depth if you're lucky, and that's kind of what you're aiming for, and so it's a solid pick for the Vikings, another solid one. In the 4th round, pick 130, they went defensive line again with James Lynch out of Baylor. Apparently they said, position change upcoming for Lynch. Explosive athlete, thick, long frame. He's just very raw, apparently, and so he's a developmental prospect in the later part of the 4th round. They gave it a C-. I'll go C. I don't know much about him, like I said, but I do know they could use help or depth in the defensive line, so not a horrible pick yet again. In the 4th round again, pick 132, they picked a kid. I wanted to go to Pittsburgh, but I think they passed on him at least once, so congratulations, Vikings. You got Troy Dye, linebacker out of Oregon. There's sometimes he's supposed to be ranked higher on people's boards. Fell to the 4th round. So it's a pretty good value pick if you ask me, 132nd overall. They said Dye is a long coverage specialist with VAX experience, is awesome in zone, and can run with tight ends down the seam. It's very good inside linebacker depth for Minnesota. It's a solid acquisition. I wish my Steelers would have him, but I'm sure he will do great on the Vikings. They gave it an A. I'd have to agree, especially for the 4th round. Very solid pick. In the 5th round, 169th overall, they have two 5th round picks. They picked Harrison Hand, corner out of Temple, ultra quick, no hesitation corner, and the athleticism is there, which is important once you get to the 5th round, like I said. And throwing in another pick at a position you need help on a lot, and it's not just like the Packers who needed offensive line or the Bears who needed offensive line, and they did, multiple day 3 picks. They also addressed it on day 1 and day 2. And so that's the bigger part. That's what matters a lot. But getting another kid in again just to be assurance and add to that competition is a perfect move if you ask me. They give it a B-. I'll go B. Obviously, he probably won't be as good as Jeff Gladney or anyone else, or Cameron Dantzler, but he has potential. He's athletic, and that Vikings cornerback room is hurting. Get as many bodies as you can. See who sticks. Pretty simple concept there. In the 5th round, again, pick 176 overall, they went KJ Osborne, wide receiver out of Miami. It is a deep wide receiver class, but I don't know a lot about this kid. They said there's some questions about his route running, but it is a good depth piece for a wide receiver core that could use all the help it could get. They gave it a C+. I guess I'd have to agree with it just because my lack of knowledge on him. There's probably some bigger name wide receivers available, maybe at this point, but not horrible. Position in need still, which is important. It seems like the Vikings have done pretty well drafting what they need, which, makes sense. That's what you're supposed to do in a draft. All right, now they got 2 6th-round picks. Picked 203rd overall. They picked Blake Bardell. I got to go fast now, guys. Blake Brandell out of Oregon State. CBS Sports gave this a D+. They said he was on Draft Radar, so it's a bit of a reach. I'll agree with their D. Then in the 6th-round pick, 205, they picked Josh Metellus, safety out of Michigan. He's got athleticism, and he's very versatile. Very good addition for depth, especially in the 6th round to that secondary. This time at the safety position, they gave it a C. I'll go B. In the 7th round, they went Kenny. I'm just going to list all of them because they have 4 guys, so I'm going to go through this quick. Kenny Wilkes, edge out of Michigan State, like to pick. Another depth guy at edge rusher in the 7th round, good value. Nate Stanley, quarterback out of Iowa, 7th round, pick 244. Not bad. It could be a very good backup quarterback, or at least a camp arm. Not bad for the 7th round, like I said, has potential. 7th round, again, they got safety Brian Cole II out of Mississippi State. This is a flyer on a guy who can play safety or linebacker, so there's some versatility there in the 7th round. That's important. Gave it a B+, I'd agree. And their final pick, keep making these videos closer than they need to be. Kyle Hinton, offensive lineman out of Washburn. So this is a small school prospect, a little bit out of the radar. They get a C+, I'd have to agree with that. Offensive line's a need, but it doesn't hurt to take a flyer. But overall, guys, the Vikings had a very good draft and a lot of capital, which usually if you have a lot of capital and you don't royally screw up, you're probably going to have the best draft in your division, you would hope. And so to me, the NFC North rankings for the draft goes as follows. Vikings number 1 with an A, Lions number 2 with a B, Bears number 3 with a C, and the lowly Packers got a D for their draft. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure to comment below and let me know what you thought, what your grades were. If you disagree with anything I said, let me know what division you want to see next. If you don't say anything, I'll just go AFC South. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I apologize again for the rushing at the end. I got 10 seconds left. I need to get more camera space. Either way, this is KMA Preston signing out. See you guys later.